Alright guys, welcome to another movie crew review. Today we'll be reviewing Venom: The Last Dance.
The movie stars Tom Hardy, Chiwetel Ejiofor, and Juno Temple.
So in this final installment in the Venom trilogy, we find Eddie and Venom on the run from the events of the last film as a government organization known as Imperium hunting them down, as well as other symbiotes to try and find the link between the symbiotes and the humans. We see a road trip happen throughout the film, and it's a great conclusion to this film. So let's get to the review. And Cameron, if you'd like to take us away today.
Venom: The Last Dance for me was a beautiful ending to the trilogy. I am a big fan of Venom, and sure, the first two weren't the best, but I still had a great time with it. I mean, the chemistry that Eddie Brock and Venom have carries over and is probably even better in the last one. They just emphasize it a bit more. There's not as many side characters, I feel, in this movie, so you could focus a bit more on the chemistry. I think Tom Hardy did a great job. I love his portrayal as Eddie Brock. And for me, the story for this one, I was actually thoroughly entertained. I think it didn't take itself too seriously. Had a great time. I think the action was relatively good. I mean, in all three Venom movies, they are a bit of a CGI fest, but I think this one looked the best. I think they've progressed in each one and sort of made it look a bit cleaner as opposed to like maybe the first one with the end fight scene. I remember just being a whole lot of smudge on the screen, but this time you can actually differentiate. I mean, the saying goodbye really hit home for me. I think that was a great goodbye for me. I mean, the chemistry was always there for me. And just seeing Venom on a motorbike again just took me back to my childhood. I remember having a figure of Venom on the bike, and yeah, it was just great to see once more on the big screen. John?
Yeah, I enjoyed this film. I think that the Venom, how it's CGI'd in this film, probably looks the best that it has in all three films. So I think that the battle scene at the end with all the symbiotes was a nice conclusion and something that was good to see, because if we didn't get that, I think it would have been something that would have been maybe missing. So I enjoyed that part of the film, especially that last, it's probably about 20 minutes of the film where they were all fighting, and it was between Venom and Eddie were, kind of saying their last goodbyes. It was a nice way to conclude the series and send Eddie out, as it were, and introduce a potential new storyline to the Venom series that doesn't involve Eddie Brock. So I think that was good. The pacing for me, it was a bit strange. I think that it didn't have the same aspect of the other two films where it wasn't focused around his career. It was more an aftermath from the second film. So it would have been a little bit more fast-paced if it had been a focus as opposed to just trying to escape the authorities. But the introduction of Knull was quite good and helped propel that story along quite well. Probably some of the funny bits were the bits that made me enjoy the film a lot more. Like, we get to meet Reese and his family as they're traveling to Area 51, and their banter between Venom and Eddie as they're meeting them is really funny. And when Eddie gets to Vegas and he's playing the slot machines and meets Miss Chen, that was some great laughs. So if anything, I think it had some really good laughs. It followed the first two films really well, and Juno Temple and Chiwetel Ejiofor did a really good job as the scientist and the soldier. I think that their casting was really well done, and the backstory to at least Juno's character was nice to see throughout the film, and you get that agony at the end. If you watch the film, you'll get what I mean. But I think the end for both those characters was quite nice. So yeah, there wasn't much that I had a gripe with. If you like the first two Venoms, you'll like this one. If you didn't enjoy the first two Venoms, then you probably won't like this one. But overall, it's a great film, and it gives you enough context throughout the film to understand it. So yeah. Moon.
Well, I didn't like the first two Venom movies, and so I went to this one with a completely different mindset, which was just shutting my brain off. and I had a good time in some bits at least. So this movie is quite funny, like Cameron pointed out, and the chemistry between Eddie and Venom, the banter was really well done throughout the whole movie, and the fight scenes were pretty well done this time. So like Cameron said, like you could actually see like different beings fighting instead of it just amalgamation of the same things. And like John, you said the pacing was a bit off. Yeah, every time they were in the lab, it was just like, can we get to the good stuff? Like it was just soul draining. Every time this throwing out the science jargon, I was like, nah, it's just I don't want to watch this. Um, Juno Temple, I don't know why she's in the movie. The backstory was just throwaway. I don't know what was the point of the whole thing. Yeah, it didn't have even all the side characters except for the family they meet. I think whatever whenever they meet the family, I think that part was good, but other side characters was just throwaway. Um, yeah, the pacing it does suffer a lot, and the beings they fight, I think they were sort of sometimes they were a bit annoying, but yeah, it was. But the last fight scene was pretty good. So yeah, that's about it.
A lot of the end symbiotes, because I don't really introduce them, if you read the comic books, I think you'll find out based off the colors and the points of what they look like, you'll be able to tell who they are. So some of these things are like, I think more for the comic book and the in-depth readers and the little hints. So that's where it does come confusing, especially when you have all the symbiotes at the end.
Yeah,
From my perspective, it looked great, but like if you're a fan of the comics, then you read into it a bit more and who this one is,
no,
who
yeah,
that one is, if that makes sense.
yeah,
I mean, yeah, I enjoyed the scientist character because, I mean, it's kind of done in the first film, but it's a different aspect now, government instead of private. So it's not so much as studying the symbiote and trying to get it into a human as opposed to they've already amalgamated. They're trying to study the symbiotes on their own. They're not trying to force it into people, which is a nice
Yeah.
aspect. And it's always cool to see like Area 51, Area 55 as it is.
I do like Area 51 stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, but with your point, it's symbiotes. I think it was the way they did it was good enough. Because even for me, I'm not the biggest fan, but just they did enough to differentiate
Oh,
each
yeah.
symbiote.
By the look.
So you
they
don't
did. Yeah,
you don't like for me it doesn't it's not a necessity that I know the names. You just got to know that they're all pretty similar because they are siblings. As long as
Yeah.
you got that basis down, it's pretty self-explanatory. But yeah, I get what you mean. Like,
Yeah, but I'm saying it's
obviously
like,
you get more
yeah.
out of it if you know because it's more like a
Yeah, even
it's
like
more like a wow.
her Juno Templar, Teddy Payne. It's like that callback to Dr. Payne who studies the venom virus from the comic books. So it's just like little tidbits. Like for us, it was still a great film in terms of like they look different. All the symbiotes look different enough that you can differentiate them all based off color and based off the look variants. Like if you were to read the comic books, you probably get a bit more out of it because you'd know, oh, this one's this one, this one's that one. You know a bit of that story a bit more. So yeah, I think it's good on both levels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys, gonna give our scores.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moon, how many symbiotes out of 10?
give it 6 symbiotes out of 10.
John?
I'll give it 7 symbiotes out of 10.
Yeah, I'll give it 7.5 symbiotes out of 10. All right, guys, make sure to like, subscribe, check out our socials, and we'll catch you on the next one. Ciao.